Okay, so playing Axis Empires here. We've moved into, I guess, the beginning of the summer of 39. Wow, buzzed right along, didn't we? Axis cards. For the Japanese First Army expansion, gets them some more stuff in their force pool. A couple replacements on the board. On the German side, Nazi-Soviet Pact. Now this is kind of cool. Give them some replacements and such as well. But the big effect of this is that it forces, and the Russians could start this process as well, but it forces the Nazi-Soviet Pact, which is going to keep the Russians kind of out of the war a little longer than otherwise might happen. Give Germany the chance to focus on one side or the other. I'm not sure which makes more sense, but right now they weren't planning on moving into Poland. Poland's pro-Soviet. That looks dangerous and scary. They wanted to move more westward. This is kind of a dangerous situation, though, with things like Romania and Poland holding these markers. Now, right now they're still neutrals, but if they swing over and actually become active Soviet miners, well, that's two victory point spaces that swing over away from the Axis right there, and that kind of is a pain in the butt. Over on the Chinese front, again, chipping away along here and up here at the edges, just pushing forward. I'm going to have to start setting up some puppet governments fairly soon. I don't know when that's going to happen. Right now I'd like to have at least 2 possible ones within China before I start wasting those cards. I've only got 2 cards that give me that chance at all. Alright, I guess we go on to the Western Allies. The Allied picks were Churchill diplomacy, which didn't do anything over in the Far East, and Scandinavian League, attempt to try to, I don't know, maybe get Sweden or Finland or something into this game. Well, that didn't do anything either. It did produce, however, some additional French troops, and we're beginning to stretch to the point where we're building colonial troops because we have nothing else to build. I can't use the points for French troops or for minor troops to build English troops, and there's nothing else there. Over here, then for the Russians, see the border defense coming up again? They're just kind of doing nothing out in the Far East, just building Kansu units. But then they got trumped. They had Franco-Russian Entente in hand. The Nazi-Soviet Pact more or less precludes that. Basically, the option segment effects don't take place because of it. Conditional, of course, it doesn't remove a demand card, and conditional events segment, I haven't rolled that yet, and I haven't gotten the extra step that happens there. So, seeded lands box, we got 3. Okay, I gotta look this up. We just got a 2 there. This is, what's the event? The event is Allies Support Resistance. I'll be back in a moment with that. Well, about the only thing that could be done on that was the Civil War table. Current value is at 0 because of the, just making sure the victory point, I got called on this because of my initial screw up with those. Anything else doesn't look like it. And I ended up rolling a 6, drove me over to the conference table. I rolled a 4, conflicting plans, no result. Whoop whoop. Alright. I guess we push on to the next turn after we get some things in the delay box moving. Well, a little bit further movement here on the Chinese front, and I'm not really try to block the light there. A little further movement by the Japanese there. Perhaps the more important things, that Scandinavian policy ended up giving Sweden a Western slant. And then the Russians once again ended up getting, the Allies support resistance, going to the Civil War table, but this time they got Republican infighting. They have a few choices on this. One of them was, hey, it's not our problem anymore. We're leaving the West, the Western Allies, to kind of control the resistance from now on. And that actually works pretty well, you know, rather than losing a battle in the Civil War. It's better to hand it off to them. So that's going to move it forward. Just got something to roll for in the delay box. A colonial unit lost. But that's about it. You know, it's funny, after all my words last time about the weather, etc., just noticing I'm forgetting about it again. Got to try to figure out where it is. I think Szechuan is in the central. That should have been mud the last couple of turns. I doubt these advances would have been quite as quick, but I'll let it stand. I've been making mistakes on both sides. But that's a pretty major factor, actually, is, hey, you know, how much does it slow things down? I think the Axis has enough trouble. Hey, maybe it was an especially dry year or whatever. Okay, so even with the mud, oh boy, that's dark. Even with the mud, the Japanese still managed to pull forward a bit. They couldn't make the 2 attacks per turn, though. And they're not allowed to use air power, so they had to kind of be creative with their forces and maybe didn't make the attack they really wanted. What we do see, though, is the KMT's back in business here and able to support both the units there. I think China's about ready to fall. Some of it may be the mud-related aspect. Looks like I got an extra 2 turns in here, right, that I shouldn't have. As to events, not a lot happened over here in the east. Over in the west, like nothing. In the west, very little as well. The Russians got another Allies support resistance. They rolled on the Civil War table, ended up in the conference table, got military aid, and had nothing to do with it. They don't have any miners they can boost. They don't have any colonial units, and they don't have anything in the delay reduction aspect. So they're kind of stuck with throwing it away and wasting it on expensive dachas. All right, I guess we move forward. I don't even see anything in the delay box into, there's something over there, into the autumn. So here we are in the autumn of 39, the option card, Imperial Rule Assistance Association. This had to be picked by the Japanese as the best choice rather than, they could have used an army coup or something, but they had to get the government army if they want to continue upgrading the ground forces. They could have gone with the economic expansion, but this seems more important at this point. Moving over to the other side, because they get their special army units in the second wave. The other side, we see the Germans demanded Gau-Moselland. Looks like Luxembourg to me. Anyway, this was successful, and they've shifted a lot of forces over into place for a definite anti-French position. Because they've managed to get the pact with Russia, they're looking at just attacking the French. Now, here's what's weird. These damn guarantees don't seem to be affecting anything. I look, and oh yeah, we're willing to concede the territory, and war doesn't break out, and nothing's happening here. I'm not sure that Belgium-Holland is adequately covered by the guarantees. I'm not sure what would be. I mean, Sweden with its diplomatic setup isn't. So, I don't know. Anyway, although they would get a die roll modifier there, I think. Let me see. Yeah, because that happens in the political events segment instead of the conditional event segment. You got to be careful when things actually happen because some of them cause the modifier, some of them don't. Looking over at China, we still do have some of the Kiangsu forces remaining, but we threw in both air forces. Now that the mud's gone, yeah, it's kind of a painful thing, but it had to clear stuff out, and you know, it's a hard fight even with all those units on there. All right, on to, I guess, the Allied forces. Eyes, picks were, oh boy, that's dark there. Aid to China. Now this is going to start increasing troops to one of the Chinas. Probably nationalist if it can hold out. And one thing that it did was it allowed them to get influence here in Yunnan. But if nationalist looks like it's going to fall, it might be better to just start supporting communist China right off the bat. In which case, maybe the Japanese can be pressured from that direction. It's going to be tough to do, though, I think. The next, over here on the European side, well, we had Churchill diplomacy, and we had that over on the other map as well. This before, this caused, I don't remember what fired off. I think it was the guarantees table. Ended up bopping around all over the place, twice through the Civil War table, once for the Allies, once for the Axis. And it ended up in an Axis victory. For whom the bell tolls, they end up picking up space. Hey, well, you know, they're a third of the way there now. And losing a strength point because of it in Europe. It's kind of painful to lose a step, but getting the edge on the Civil War seems important. They don't really need to finish the thing. They just want to make sure that they don't lose it. And hopefully the Western Allies will be too busy during the hot war to really be paying too much attention to it if that comes to that. All right, where are we? And I see why you demand the Polish corridor, because it's going to give you that third space for free, and that's why you want it, to get you off the 0 victory point marker. I don't know, whatever. Although it's not really, that's just a German space now. That doesn't count. That's not hurting anyone. Yeah, the Germans actually, to me it looks like all we've done is moved it to 0. I'm not sure this is moved. I think I've been cheating, no? I think I've been cheating this whole time because what the Germans have been gaining doesn't count. It's not worth anything to them. They just don't want to lose control of these. And to tell you the truth, they should have had penalties on all those diplomatic tables and stuff that they haven't been having for a while. Oops. All right, well, live and learn. I keep cheating for the Axis, man. I must want them to win. All right, on to the Russians for this beginning of the autumn. So Russia doing the standard, I don't have anything left to do over in the Far East. But over here, they're showing signs of being not entirely sane. The demand for Eastern Poland, and they actually got this. It's pretty much automatic because of the pact status. However, this breaks what they gained from Poland before. The alliance factor from Poland is gone. They can try to rebuild that again, but I don't know. I kind of liked the allied factor of it and having maybe control and being able to intercede in Poland if it was attacked. But as things sit right now, I'm not really sure. You know, the Russians are performing coherent policy here. Anyway, they've moved in and grabbed some of that territory. Maybe they just got scared with the pact, whatever, and felt that they had to get some buffer zone. But it definitely does not seem like the warm and fuzzy Russia of a few months ago. All right, I think that's it for now. We push forward into the end of the autumn on both sides. We got a little bit of stuff in both delay boxes to put forward. Well, I took a long delay there, dealing with the axis, trying to figure out what the hell, honestly, how the war starts. Now, it actually starts pretty much like you'd assume. These guarantees, this is what they mean. Since there's one policy crossing all those, if the Axis declares war on one of them, it hits all of them. And that's a little different from how I guess things were set up here, where there were different statuses in all the different postures. So the guarantees kind of are all linked together. If Germany attacks Poland, as an example, Poland would be a guarantee state, and it would be driven into the war with the Allies. If they attack the pact, if they declared Poland to be part of the Soviet side, they'd be attacking the pact and breaking that, which would be even a worse situation, I believe. So the question is, do they need to attack Poland? And the answer is not really. It's a gray thing. In the long run, they don't want the Russians to go in there, but right now they want to focus their westward expansion and attack first, and then see what happens. Now, I know this is kind of scary because France is kind of potent. I'm not doing it right away, mind you. It's just, right now, it does not make much sense. One question would be, hey, what about taking Norway? Well, that's very tricky in a number of ways, and I probably don't want to start the war off with Norway, but I will investigate it as an option. The advantage to it, of course, is it has a little green space, which will help my victory point swing. Over in China, you see the Japanese crushing that nut in Chongqing. They're actually ignoring this one because they needed all the force they had to hit this. Their planes landed this turn so they don't come back. Who knows how long. All right, on to the other, to the Allies, etc. And little or nothing happens in those turns. Just the cards didn't have much to play out, and not a lot of pieces to move around, if any. I had some stuff I wanted to play with here. All right. Rolled the delay box things. We're ready to go into the winter, and I think that's pretty much the end of 1939.